Alright, so the first thing I'm going to say that maybe isn't so helpful is probably don't pick timbersaw. I mean, you probably don't want to hear that, or maybe you do, but just looking at their lineup, I would have vastly preferred like an Underlord. Like Underlord, I, I'm not sure like when you pick timbersaw necessarily, but Underlord would have been the perfect hero in this game for you to play. So if you don't know how to play Underlord, I'm not sure if you do or not. It's just a really overpowered hero right now, just because his Q percentage HP burn works on Roche, and his tower defense is, I would say, rivaled only by like Tinker. And I don't know, Timber's out of the meta right now just because he's like a really greedy pick. Sure, he's tanky, but his tankiness falls off unless he's getting unless he's ahead at first and he stays ahead. And Timber just doesn't really, well, I think this particular lane, monkey, what is this, offlane monkey? Roaming monkey. Sorry. I mean, I personally, and especially if you are a Timber player, I don't mind Timber in this particular lane. Like, you'll do well in this lane, I'm sure. And you just straight up don't care about Roaming Monkey as a Timber. You definitely should have contested this run, just because, you know, they've got, where they have telekinesis. That's it. So you could have got this run and this run, and you really didn't have to worry about them snatching yours. You could have gotten both because you already saw this Monkey King talk. So I'm guessing you are a Timber player because you are drawing aggro and getting your stacks up early. That's pretty funny. Okay, this that Ricky just won you the lane. You just have to wait out Metamorphosis, and the first like like 6 creep waves are just completely free. Now that they use meta and they didn't zone you out with it. Not that I think they even could, like, they couldn't even have killed you there. And I like the Timber chain here. It's a bit more difficult to use it to harass with, just because it has, not only does it have a cast animation, but you also actually have to, it's much more difficult to hit. I honestly don't know if I think I still prefer the Whirling Death. I mean, the attribute loss, it's still relevant against Terrorblade. I mean, sure he has a Quelling Blade, but like, this Whirling Death, it's going to cause him to miss last hits. And if you actually had Whirling Death there, you might have got the kill on Rubik. Yeah, I definitely would have gotten Whirling Death here. Just because you're really in no danger of just getting like straight up killed, where you have to, you know, Timber chain away like twice just in order to live. So yeah, I think your skill choice here was a mistake. After thinking about it for a bit, it would have allowed you to dominate the lane more. And I don't like this play. Sure, you harassed Rubik out of lane, but what was he really doing to you? What's really Rubik is really doing nothing in this lane. And you should definitely, like, now, you know that Metamorph is coming up, back up now that it's through 3 minutes into the game. So, definitely just keep those reactive armor charges up. Looks like you definitely are going to do that. I personally wouldn't have minded at all a Quelling Blade in this lane, just to help your lane dominance out. Yeah, just make sure you keep drawing aggro. You want to have these full reactive armor stacks up as much as possible. Like now you can't really harass him under tower that much because you only have 3 charges instead of 10. But you're able to just go behind the tower, and I foresee you just doing a lot of farming behind the tower. I think against Terrorblade, you really want to be using this value timber chain just to make sure, like, he does have a level in illusion here. Like, 1 timber chain at level 1 probably does like 70%. How much is it actually? They're 400%, and it's 100 damage. Yeah, it's like 70%. So if these guys are at 70% or lower, you just straight up kill the illusion. And Terrorblade's, you know, this illusion, it's plus 30% damage. So if you're denying him the ability to use these illusions to help him last it under tower, then it's actually a big deal. So there are heroes where you just want to be back behind the tower, farming, just tanking creeps indefinitely and farming, especially if they can't really rotate on you, and they really can't. Like, their rotation is a Monkey King, and Omni Knight, yeah, right? Invoker, he's never going to leave mid, so they can't really rotate on you. The only way you're ever dying here is if, I don't know, Rubik is level 6, he steals Chakram, they land a Sunstrike with no creeps next to you, they're wailing into you with Metamorphosis, I don't know, on and on and on, and it's not worth it to leave lane to get these bounty runes, when you could just be getting this XP and farm from the creep wave here. And now that you are level 6, you can just, you know, harass down this Terrorblade. I feel like you should have had more of a level advantage over Terrorblade here. Just because of the impossibility of them zoning you out of lane at all. So, Terrorblade is going to get a timely level 6, and I don't want to say that. I don't want to say something like he's going to get 6, he's going to be low HP, sunder you, get you to 25%, and then Rubik finishes you off with like a Fade Bolt, plus him wailing on you with level 3 meta. But it could certainly happen. It's within the realm of possibility, right? So if you have this higher level advantage over Terrorblade, that really diminishes any sort of counterplay that he has against you. And really, even though Chakram is buffed to only cost 80 mana, I really think you gotta conserve your ability to use it. And you actually could have killed Terrorblade there. If you chained into him and pressed Q, you should have... Yeah, I mean, once you hit the Chakram and he was getting slowed by it, you definitely should have chained and hit Q. And he would have died. And that cements your lead. By a pretty nice margin. And I don't think you have to really be so afraid. Here. Yeah, I mean, you got level 3 in reactive armor. You'll probably be fine. As long as they don't, like, sunder you into a Sunstrike, into a Rubik W, they can't kill you, so... Yeah, I mean, you could have had your hood already if you were playing this lane correctly. And this is just a waste of time. Just push this in. Just focus on the lane creeps, make them react to you. I'm not saying be on the back foot, I'm saying step on the gas, you know? That was a nice gank by Ricky. That was a great rotation from Ricky. Yeah, so just in the future when you have a lane like this that's just free, and it'll happen in timbersaw games where your lane is just free, but again, I want to go back to like the idea of picking Underlord. This lane would have been just as free if you picked Underlord. See how little they can do to you? Just nothing. And that would include if you were Underlord. Yeah, so because you didn't focus on getting last hits and denies in lane so much, your tower is half HP and their tower is still at, I don't know, 60%, when you could have actually, if you played the lane correctly, killed this tower, had like double Terrorblade's net worth, had several levels on him. Yeah, you just use to kill these illusions, just use one chain and they die. It's the most efficient way. I guess Chakram is slightly cheaper now. Can you kill it with Chakram though? No, you can't. But with a Timber Chain, if it's even like missing any HP, that you just kill it. And I actually don't like the idea of prepping like a kill on Terrorblade here, because you want Terrorblade to be like high HP. If he's low HP, then he has some counterplay potential. And that was just a bad play by Terrorblade. I guess by forcing him low, you forced out the Sunder just for him to stay in the lane. And then once he had no Sunder, you were able to just kill him. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I do like the prepping on Terrorblade, considering they don't have like good lockdown on their team and they don't have like good damage. Really, it's on this Invoker to Sunstrike at the exact moment that Rubik lifts after Terrorblade Sunders in order to get the kill on you. And I actually don't like the Hood of Defiance in this game. I would have much preferred you had a Yule's, actually. Like, you don't need the HP regen, and you don't need the magic resist, not really in this game. But what could fuck you up is getting cold snapped. What could fuck you up is... And getting cold snapped there actually fucked you up. If you had a Yule right now, you Yule off the cold snap, then you just get away. Let's see what you do next. So as a timbersaw, pretty much the playstyle on timber is you just sit in a lane, right? You sit in a lane, you force them to react to you, they bring like all 5 fucking heroes, and then you just live, right? That's how a timbersaw game goes a lot of times. And if they don't react to you, then they lose both of their towers, they lose control of their entire jungle. And you just have, like, a big advantage in the game just because you have map control of, like, this entire area. And you just have a TP in case they dive a tower somewhere else, right? Or if you want to try dealing with a push with your chakram. Like if they push top, what's your play? Do you try to trade? Or do you go top and try to kill the creep wave? It depends. Like, if you have a core down here already, and they're pushing top, then you go, and you leave your core down here. But if you don't have a core down here, then, you know, maybe you stay. Yeah, I feel like having an early Yule here instead of the Hood, I kind of feel like you feel like you're kind of locked into the Hood maybe too much. Like you know, one of the most common builds on timbersaw is the Soul Ring, Mana Boots, Wand into Hood, right? But another one of the most common ones is the Yule. And there's also a nice trick you can do with Yule. You throw out the chain, you Yule yourself, so it becomes much more difficult for them to actually cancel your timber chain. You know? Stuff like that. You can use Yule to catch out Monkey easier because he takes damage when he falls down, so he can't tree dance. You can use Yule to, I don't know, purge off a Guardian Angel, maybe. I feel like the Hood of Defiance here was a mistake, and I feel like this entire fight top was also a mistake. See, it's really quite easy for them to defend this tower. And you had no tier 1 to defend, so I feel like you just shouldn't have been top. I feel like you could have been bottom. You could have defended this tower. Like, the reason it's so easy to defend this is they can have a high ground ward here. They could have a ward here. They've got a shrine to TP to, so they don't need to TP right onto the tower. They can TP to the tier 2. I mean, they've got 3 places to TP. They've got infinite good ward spots. They might even have this warded. You know, it's just really difficult to really push this. Like, it's... If you actually push this, you're setting the enemy team up for a good fight. Just because they have such an advantage right there. So I like that you're just in their jungle right now, trying to boot them out. You're just trying to occupy this space around here. You even have a word from your team. And you should just push in this lane and pressure the tower right now, which it looks like that's what you're about to do. Let's see what your talent choices are. Yeah, I feel like it's a mistake. Well, maybe not in this game. Like, the level... I kind of don't like the XP gain talent, so I think your level 10 talent is correct. Like, 25% XP gain for what? Like, you get so much XP on Timber regardless. Like, it might even be a hindrance to speed up your XP gain. I don't know. Then you... Like, your level 25 talents are super underwhelming. Plus 8% or plus 1400 Timber Chain range. Probably take the Timber Chain range every time, right? I mean... Just not good talents. So you ended up getting a Lotus Orb to deal with Sunder, to deal with Cold Snap, I suppose. You can put it on your carry. You know, now that I think about it, when I said Yule earlier, you were having such a good game that it might have made sense to just rush Lotus Orb. I mean, typically you want Lotus Orb as like a second or third item, right? But you're having such a good game, and timbersaw is really a hero that it feels like he can go first item Lotus if he's having a good game. I mean, I don't mean timbersaw is like the best hero, but if it's a good timber game, then it's just, you're just invincible before 20 minutes. So, oh yeah, the level 15 talent. In this game, I kind of like the +5 reactive armor stacks, because they've got Monkey King. It just allows you to stand in his ult, like without any repercussions, and just get up to 25 pretty quick. They've got Terrorblade illusions to proc your passive. They have, you know, some potential Forge Spirits. So I do like the stacks in this game, but I feel like the +100 damage is, you know, it's not to be overlooked. I mean, you get diminishing returns on more armor, right? But you don't get, well, the HP regen actually, it's quite a bit. Alright, okay, I figured it out now. I think instead of getting this +5 reactive armor stacks, you could have just got Shiva. I feel like you have more than enough lockdown in this game. I feel like I think this hex is overkill. Like, I feel like it's a bit greedy, in fact, to get this hex instead of getting instead of going for the Shiva's guard. I mean, they've got Terrorblade. It's a classic item to counteract an illusion hero is the Shiva. And, you know, there's also Monkey King, there's Invoker. It's just a pretty good item that I feel like you overlooked it. Plus, Shadow Fiend already has a Shiva, and he's got the 40% cooldown reduction. Or he already has the Scythe, I mean. And at this point, it's probably a mistake for you to go for the Octarine. I mean, I can understand the Octarine. You've got a Hex, you've got a Lotus, you've got all your low cooldown spells, you already have cooldown reduction talent, so the Octarine core, maybe it's everything you need, but I just think you've got enough Bloodstone charges, you've got a Hex, you're fucking diving the fountain, you've got Lotus. I think just Ags, right? Just Ags for the extra damage. Right now, I'm starting to wonder, how the fuck does he lose this game? And I feel like you could have gone for the Boots of Travel a bit earlier in this game. I mean, they do have some split push. They've got Conjure Image. They've got Board Spirits. So if you do go for the Boots of Travel, it'll pay off. Big time. Don't you just get Rosh and end the game now? What happened? What happens next? Does this Invoker just kill all of you somehow? At this level 25? Yeah, so what you could have, to answer your question, what could I have done to win this game as Timbersaw? I feel like you made slight errors in your item build. I feel like you didn't dominate, you dominated the laning stage, but you didn't actually end up reducing the enemy Terrorblade's farm by a significant enough margin. Man, if you had Ags right now, it would really own. You've got 34 fucking Bloodstone charges. Surely you get away from that. Now they get Rosh. Yeah, you guys should have just got Rosh instead of that tier 2. You end up stealing it here. Man, you would just fucking destroy these kids if you had Ags right here. Yeah. Not getting the Shivas, getting the Hood, not going for the Roshan here, not going for Ags instead of Octarine. Like, you could have even... Like, you could have gotten a Dagon 5 this game. You know, maybe it's just, you know, Dagon 5, it doesn't come up often, right? But when you're a Timber, you can farm it. And Dagon 5 bursts this Terrorblade before he uses BKB with like a Sven stun or something is just pretty game winning. Yeah. Okay, yeah, definitely. Instead of the Octarine, if you went Dagon 5 or Ags. If you went Ags, Dagon 5. I mean, isn't Ags better than, like, isn't 2 Chakrams better than reducing the cooldown of 1 Chakram? Yeah, Ags Dagon 5. It would have been so good this game. It would have allowed you to burst Terrorblade a lot better. It would have allowed you to burst down the Monkey King in his ult a lot better. Guardian Angel? Who the fuck cares? You got Dagon 5 and Ags. And I would stop the replay, but this game is still winnable. If you just win fights. Please tell me you guys get megas here. Oh, I guess you don't really have any building damage. You should be focusing buildings here. If they were going to buy back, they would have done so already. Hit the building, hit the building. Hit the building. I don't know, I feel like you should have at least finished off this Rax as a team before Invoker respawned. And, or maybe, was Invoker, or whatever, before Terrorblade respawned. Yeah, not having this Ags was so detrimental, actually. Especially when you had, at the time, like 32 Bloodstone charges. You're never running out of mana. With 32 Bloodstone charges, you're never running out of mana. This Octarine, maybe it increases your survivability as well as your damage output, but it doesn't increase your damage output nearly as much as Ags does. I feel like I made my point. Oh man. Dagon 5 is such a juicy item this game, actually. Plus 100 armor on Monkey King. Who the fuck cares? Dagon 5. At this point, I think I need to increase it even more. So you finally get the axe, you get Roche. Omni doesn't have ult. But you're not getting the buildings. Through no fault of your own. I'm gonna go ahead and say that the biggest issue was not winning that lane harder. And everything else was relatively minor. Except for going for the Octarine instead of the Axe.